Okay, so we are working with the squirrel bounce or squirrel jump. Um, so we have done this much for now. So yesterday, we added all sorts of rotations and translations with the upper controller. Now let's say, like, if you want the rotation to be a little bit more chaotic, you can do that as well. If you followed exactly how I have done, then you can make these slight changes as well if you want the rotation to go along with translation. Okay, like here you can see I rotated it more towards the left side. Then at 14th we didn't do anything, we added a key at 17th instead. So I'm going to make a few changes. So what I'll do is, like, basically the rotation was in Z axis, right? So I'll go to the graph editor, I'll go to rotate Z, and I will delete the keys that we had created after 10th frame. So till 10th frame, I have the key. Okay. Now what I'll do is at 14th, I will translate it, rotate it towards the right side. So now, like, instantly it is rotating from one side to the other side. Now, if you reduce the amount of time for rotation, then you also have to reduce the amount of rotation you have added in the first, uh, like the prior frame. So you can see here we actually increased it, right? So I'm going to slightly decrease it. So here it is towards left, here it is towards right. Then at 17th, I'll take it towards left again. And you can see I'm reducing the amount, right? Not doing it excessive. Then 18th, again, it's towards right. Then at 23, it's almost gone. Okay. 23 and 26, it's very, very subtle. So same left and right rotation was there. So again, if we see the keys, you can see the actual dampening shape is there, right? So once you get that, and if you feel like you want to increase something, you can go ahead and do that. Okay, like if you want to intensify it and not kill it so soon, then you're free to make those changes. Okay, you just need to balance uh, the keys. All right, in the graph editor. So you can see it's a little bit more chaotic now. So you can make those changes. All right, and uh, let's say, like I've already shown for translation, right? If you want to increase it, you can. Like here, what I've done is initially the stretch is so much, and then we squash it, and the next stretch is not that much. If you can intensify that as well, the second stretch can be more, and then from then on you can reduce everything. So then it will stay chaotic for a little bit more time. You can see it's very chaotic, and then again it is suddenly stopping. Why is that? Because see the shape here, it's quite high and low, like the intensity is quite a lot, and then suddenly it is very, very flat. So if you want to maintain that intensity, you can definitely just take your keys and move them up and down. Okay, just intensify it. Whenever we change the keys, we are intensifying the motion. Okay. One second. Here I'm going to increase it as well. So if we look at the animation now, you can see it stays jumpy for a lot of time. Okay. Sudhakar, what do you want me to explain? Which part? The rotation that the rotation changes that I did, or the translation changes that I'm explaining? Which part do you want me to explain? Okay, well, I'll have to restart. Okay, all right. So you can see initially I had rotated it in this manner. Let me show you in the graph editor. Let's go to rotate Z. So you can see initially I added the rotation so much at the 10th frame, and then we didn't add any key at 14th. Instead, we added the next in 17th, and then we added at 23, then at 29, and so on. So what I'm saying is, to make it more chaotic, you can actually add the rotation with translation keys itself. That means the rotation that you've added at 17th, you can add it at 14th as well. So for that, what I'll do is I'll delete all the keys after 10th frame in rotate Z. Okay. And I'll also decrease the amount of rotation that we've added here. So just slightly going to decrease it. If you don't want to use the gimbal here, sorry, I'm saying gimbal. What I mean is the manipulator or the pivot to decrease the rotation, then you can do it from the graph editor itself. So you can see if I move it up, it increases the rotation towards the left side. I want to decrease it, so I'm going to bring it down. So now it is slightly decreased. Okay. Now we'll animate from here. So you can see the rotation was on left side. I'm going to now rotate it towards the right, but I'm doing it in the 14th. In last class, we did it at 17th, but here I'm doing it along with the translation keys. Okay. So from left, it goes to right, then left again, right again, and then slowly we just reduce the movement and make it come to a complete stop. So you can see it looks more chaotic this way, right? The rotation. So this is what I did. Okay. And just like that, you can also make changes to the translation as well. You can just go ahead to the graph editor and just edit that. If you feel like there is too much, you can reduce it as well. Like right now, the the stretch is extreme in the 10th frame, right? And the squash is also quite extreme. Let's say you want to reduce the distance between the translation. Like here, the controller is so high, you want it to come down, but not so much. Now, the problem is that if you make the change here, if you move it up, you'll have to edit all of these as well, right? Let's say you just want to edit the one at 14th, then in that position, what you'll do is to maintain your full animation, you will actually select all the keys together and you'll move them up. That way, what will happen? Your rest of the animation will remain same. Okay, it will not change. So that way you can maintain the same animation, but you can adjust the quantity of or the intensity of the movement. So there are many ways of adjusting things to the curves. It's nice to know how to do those things so that you can, adjust some things if you uh, don't like it. Okay. Yes, changing the time. Basically, we're changing the timing only. We're not changing the spacing. Sudhakar. I just changed this timing. I didn't edit the curves or anything. Okay. And I didn't add any in between either. So that's not a change in space, but a change in timing for rotation. Here, what I did with the curves itself, here I'm basically just changing their intensity by selecting all of them. Okay. So that is another method that we can use. See, that's what I'm saying, Sudhakar. I changed the timing and I'm also changing the rotation values because I deleted those keys. So basically, I created them again. Spacing means when we make changes in between the keyframes, how it is transitioning between two keyframes. What I did here was I basically changed the timing. I could have taken those single rotational keys and shifted them, but that would be more complex for everyone. So that's why I didn't shift them one by one in the graph editor. Okay. Creating them again is much more easier for people who are new to animation. Okay. Rather than changing them from here. Okay. All right. So now that is done. Uh, Before we do the tummy, let's actually do the lower part first. Okay. That will make the animation pop even more and make it look even more alive. So let's go to the first frame. We have broken the symmetry for the top, right? We can do the same thing for the lower one, but again, I'll add the rotation later on, not together. Okay, so we'll break the symmetry for the lower part as well. So we'll come to that, but first let's start with translation. And here I will be doing translation in all the axes together, kind of. Okay, so just see how I'm doing it. So at the first frame, we want the body to remain squashed, right? So you can slightly move it up and key it. You don't have to squash it like this. Just light squash so it looks smaller. Okay. And then at 10th frame, you go to translate Y again and zero it out so that it's actually hitting the ground. Okay. Now this is all the change you will be doing in translate Y. That's it. There will be no change in translate Y The changes we will add will be in the Z axis and in the X axis. So let's do it together. So, as I've said many times, given the same example that when you're jumping, your body goes backward and forward. You also, like with your legs as well, you move forward and backward when you try to balance yourself. Okay. Yes, Soham. You can send your file. I'll help you. Okay. Yeah. So let's continue with this. So let's start with one movement first. That will be the Z axis. Okay. So when the squirrel is landing, we won't be moving it in any axis, like in the Z axis. Like we'll keep it still. Okay. I'm going to press uh, S here to lock everything. Now what I'll do is when the squirrel is squashing, I'll move the body backward. You can see I'm kind of following the ball over here, like how we did for the ball. When we stopped it at a certain point, we made sure that we moved it backward and forward, right? So same thing I'm doing here. I'm moving the base of the character backward because see, this character is very much like a ball. So uh some physical attributes we'll keep, like the animation that we applied in those physical attributes, we will keep it similar to the ball. So here I'm moving it back. So you can see it translates backward. Okay. Then I'll move forward again and I will move it forward as well. So you can see it's going backward, forward, then backward again, and then forward again. And then one last time, it comes back. So if we check out the curve, again, we have created a dampening. Okay, looks like this one is a little bit more. Let me reduce that. See, 18th is more than 10th, so I don't want to do that. So I'm going to keep it less. So if I play it, you can see it's going backward and forward. Now here, if you want to increase the intensity, you can. Like you can see, here it goes back, forward. When it's going backward again, it's quite less. So if you want to increase that, you can increase it. And then you will edit all the rest of the movements as well according to that. You can see when I make changes to the keys here, it directly affects our character. So always keep your character and your graph editor side by side so you can see how it is affecting it. See, look at this backward and forward movement. Okay. So that makes the character look more like a jelly. Okay. So a little bit of dampening in this manner. And you can also go ahead and add rotation to exaggerate this effect. Let me show you. So when the character lands here, we haven't translated it or anything, but I would like to rotate it forward because here the body is forward, right? And then it goes back. So I will rotate it backwards. So you can see it is forward here, then it is backward. Then again, I'm going to rotate it forward, then backward, then forward again, and then backward again. So see, now there is rotation as well. So it has made the character look even more alive. Okay. No, it is not compulsory to follow what I'm doing, but if you do it this way, you will understand how you can add many layers of movements so that when you're working with different characters, you will always remember this. Okay. All the Disney animations you see, they don't just simply translate it in one axis and rotate it in one axis. They add lots of different rotations and translations to break the movement and add more complexity to it, to add more layers to it. That's why you will see the difference between Indian animation and the ones we see in Hollywood. Okay. So if you follow this, you will definitely learn more. But it's up to you. If you don't want to follow, that's up to you. I cannot say much since this is the demo, so that's your personal choice. But you can see how nice it looks, how jiggly it looks. And if you don't like this, then you probably don't like and Disney animations and stuff like that. Yes, so obviously, layer animation is actually what we do later on in the course. Okay. The squirrel, again, I said we are keeping physical properties of the ball. You can see the shape of the character is like a ball, right? This character doesn't have legs, isn't it? The base is like a ball. That's why I'm sliding it. Okay? I'm rotating it backward and forward because basically this character is trying to control itself because it's a ball. I mean, just check out Star Wars BB-8. That's a robot which is like basically a ball. See how it moves. You will see it will always go backward and forward like this. You have to see the physical attributes of the character and animate according to that. Obviously, this character doesn't have any legs, so the sliding rule doesn't apply to this. If the character had legs, then I wouldn't move the legs like that. I will just move the upper body. But since this has the physical attributes of a ball or a round shape, that's the reason why I'm moving it backward and forward. Okay? Are you understanding my logic, what I'm following, Open Raj? I hope it's clear. Obviously, we don't do it with the legs. Okay? If a ball falls, it will continue bouncing, obviously. But this is not a complete ball, right? You you're applying this much of logic into it, then you really need to watch lots of animated movies and cartoons. Okay? Then you'll understand how they work. I'm saying it has physical attributes of a ball, it's not really a ball. Okay, so it's trying to control itself. We are still following the actual movement that happens in a human body. When you're jumping from a certain height, you move forward and you move backward. If you don't believe me, do it your own self, you will see. Okay. Yes, Lokesh, it's like a balloon filled with water because that's kind of like the shape of this character. So that's what happens. Like if you're jumping from somewhere, can you just simply stop at a certain point if you're jumping from somewhere? If you can, definitely you can then keep it still. Don't move it at all. But that doesn't happen, right? Tell me, if you're jumping from somewhere, can you just stop without moving at all? Can you just straight away stop? That cannot happen, right? Can you do that? No, right? Please say yes or no. So, yes, now you get it, right? We move backward and forward. Like, just do that's why I said, like, when I'm saying something, just try yourself. That's why I'm giving you a real life example, like how we jump. And if you don't want to jump, just watch parkour videos. Even those people cannot just simply stop at a certain point because our bodies are not like robots, right? We cannot just simply come to a complete halt. We keep on going backward and forward. So that's the logic I'm applying here. And since this character is like a ball, I am sliding it backward and forward and rotating it as well. Okay? Because this character doesn't have any legs. If it had legs, then I would move, like I will lift off the foot, move it forward, then I will bring it back again to balance it. Okay? Yes, Pratmesh. It happens. Not slightly forward. Like, see, this is something that you notice, but if you record yourself, you will actually see it moves a lot and it also moves backward as well. Okay? Record once in slow motion, then you'll see. This is why I'm saying, like, if you have any doubts, definitely try it your own self because this just happens. Now, if you're professional uh, athlete who does all those, Olympic type of stuff, like what happens in that? What do we call that particular thing where the people jump through, like their big ledges are there and they jump through it? Oh, acrobats. I forgot the name. So if you watch any acrobat artists, you will see they always try to stop their body, but even they cannot. Still, they keep, yeah, gymnastics, acrobats. Okay. Gymnastic is the whole. physical thing. Acrobats is the main part where they do this. They will do such beautiful jumps and they will land. And this is a very popular Olympic thing. This sport is always there, and I have always seen these clips whenever Olympics happen. So you will see lots of slow motion videos of it. Yes, jump, flip, and rotate, and then they land beautifully. They try to really stop themselves, but still the body moves because that's just physics. That's just the function of our body. So it just happens. We cannot stop it. It would be great if we could, but we cannot. Okay. So you can see if you look at it from this angle, it looks really jiggly and like tell me, like, do you guys don't like how jiggly and cool it is, the way it is moving? Whoever is having any problem, let me know if you don't like it. Because I need to ask you whether you like 2D animations or cartoons or not. Because this is very much like how things happen in cartoons. So this jiggly effect is, see how nice it is. I personally really like it. Yes, they try to stay in the same place, but it doesn't happen. They still keep on moving. Yes, points do depend on that. Yes, exactly. Eye catching is the main point of doing this. Everything in animation comes down to simply that. If you want to keep it very physically accurate, then you just do realistic animation. Then you shouldn't even work with such characters, just with human characters or animal characters, and just like literally matching it with the references, because when we're doing realistic animation, that's what we do. We have the videos and we just do rotomation basically, because we have the reference on the side and we have to completely match it, then it looks realistic. Okay, so if you like that kind of animation, there's no problem in that, but that's a different type of animation. Yes, game animators, but even in game animations, there is a lot of exaggeration. You see, in game animations, they do motion capture quite a lot, and they clean up those animation and then they exaggerate it. Especially when the characters are talking to each other, they do it especially in those scenes. There are lots of game animators popular on Instagram, so they do share their processes as well. So they always talk about this thing. Okay. All right. So we have added the backward and forward movement. Okay. Now we also move slightly side to side, right? To balance our bodies. So that is something that we can add here as well. Yes, Krishna. Like people who are new to this don't really understand. Like everyone can do normal animation because you will have the reference and you can do it. But adding these small effects is what makes the whole difference. I mean, just compare what we see in Indian animations and Hollywood animations, DreamWorks, Pixar, Disney. There are lots of companies. The reason their work looks so great is because they add so many smaller movements, so many complexities. All right. So, as I said, we will be having the side to side movement as well to show that the weight, like the body is also rotating side to side. Now, this will be a subtle movement, not like this. Just subtle movement I will add. So, the character lands like this. Okay. Now, when it squashes, I will move it more towards the left side. Okay, so just translating it like this. Then at 18th, I'll bring it back and then backward again. So basically left and right you have to do. So at 14th, I moved it towards left. Then at 18th, I'll move it towards right. At 21, again towards left. And at 24, I'll kill it completely. Okay. And you can see now it is also translating left to right. See, that added another level of detail. Okay. So very subtle movement I've added, and dampening is still there. If you see the curve, this was translate X, right? See, dampening is still happening. And you can continue this movement. You can bring it completely in the center again. Not completely, but close like this. Just going to increase it a little bit more. So see, left, right, left, right, left. And if you want it to be completely in the center, then you can zero it out as well. But you can keep it slightly tilted also. It looks like the symmetry is nicely broken. Okay, all right. I did it at 14th because I'm showing that when the body squashes completely, it gets disbalanced. You can also do it from 10th frame as well. Okay. Usually I do it from the 10th, but I'm trying to keep all the movements after 10th. So it will be simpler for everyone. If you want, you can definitely start it from 10th. Okay. You can see the translation here. When the body squashes, the lower half gets pushed out and then it comes back in, then gets pushed out again, then comes back in. So it just keeps going left and right, left, right, left, right again, and left again. And then here you can like zero it out completely. Okay. All right. So now we have added the side to side movement and front and back movement. Now, to exaggerate this, you can also add rotation into this. Now, this is up to you. If you want to add another layer of detail, you can. So, what I'll do here is at 14th, when the body is translating outside, I'll also rotate it. Now, make sure don't rotate it too much, just subtle rotation. So, it goes out. Then, when the body comes back in, I rotate it in the other direction. And then I continue that till I completely kill the movement. Okay. So it adds another level of detail. Okay, like this. Now that we're done with the lower half and the upper half, we can start the tummy animation as well. So at the first frame, I'll keep it neutral. So basically, I explained this in last class also, but I cut it out so that no one will get confused. So basically, we want to like any part which is lighter in weight, like in this character, the tummy and the ears, they will follow the same movement of the body, but they will be delayed. This is the follow through principle uh, in the 12 animation principles. Okay. So basically, anything which is lighter in weight, it definitely follows the body, but it does so in a delay. Same thing happens with hair. Whatever is happening with your head, if your head is moving forward along with your body, your hair will definitely follow, but not at the same speed. There will be a delay because there's a difference in their weight. Okay. So it will always drag behind. So same thing we will do here. We will make it delayed. All right. So you can see at 10th frame, the body is on the ground. All right. So what I'll do here is body is now on the ground, but I want to move the tummy up. Instead of doing it at the 10th frame, I'll do it at the 12th frame to add a delay. So it goes up like this. Okay. So at 12th, it is going up. And then after that, when the body is coming down, see, it comes down at 14th, right? And then it starts going back up. So now we will bring the tummy back down at 16th. So you can see there is a delay. Look at the controllers. They are going in the opposite direction, right? So this is what we want. And always turn on wireframe so that you can see how the skin of the character is reacting. So if you want to move it more, you can move it even more. So here it is up, here it is down. And then you can keep on continuing this upward and downward, like how we basically dampen everything. Just like that, you can continue the dampening. I killed it off very quickly. Let's continue uh, adding this excessive movement. So here it is up, here it is down. Here I move it back up again. Then I move it down again, up again, down again, and then one final movement where I move it up again. So you can see up, down, up, down, up, down, and so on. And if you want to control it better, you can just open the graph editor. You can see the dampening in play. See how the top keys are dying down. I feel like the last movement is a little too much from 30 to 33. I want to reduce it. So I'll just reduce it through this. I just translated it down in the graph editor itself. So if we hit play now, you can see the jiggle. Okay. And you can intensify it if you want to see it even more. So here you can increase it further. See, I can go ahead and just move the key down and that increases the amount of movement. And here I want to increase the amount of movement upwards. So I'm doing it through the key. So I'm trying to show that you can use both the graph editor and the controller. Okay. So usually I prefer using the graph editor when I want to refine the movement. Okay. When I want to change the intensity of the movement, I prefer to use the graph editor. So you can see up, down, up, and I want to move it down a little bit more. So I do that and that's it. Okay, you can see towards the end, the movement is a little too excessive. So let's not increase the last few frame movements. I'll undo those. Let's see. Okay, still this last one you can see is looking a little bit out of the blue. The first few translations are good, but then after that, when the body has completely stopped, the movement should also completely slow down. It isn't completely slowed down yet. So let's do that. Uh, which top icons are you talking about? Anyway, that's off topic, Sudhakar. Let's talk about that later. Okay. So you can see, like if I hit play again, in the beginning the jiggle is good, but then after that, it's a little excessive. After 20, it's a little excessive. See, if I play after 20, it's moving too much. The body is completely stopped, right? Very little movement is there in the body. But I have continued to move the belly a bit too much. That doesn't look right. You can see I'm constantly playing from the frame number 20. So I want to decrease the movement after that. Till here is good. This is the one I want to reduce. Okay. So you can do it from the controller itself. So you can see I'm reducing it quite a lot. So you can see it's reduced. And if I hit play now, from 20 to 24, it's better. Okay. And now we need to reduce the rest of the movement. See, 20 to 27, 24 to 27 has literally no excessive movement. The problem is at 30. See, look at the wireframe. You won't see any movement between 24 and 27. Very little subtle movement is there. But then there is a big movement from 27 to 30. It's a good thing that this happened because many people make this mistake. Initially, the jiggle will be nice, but during the dampening, they will keep on increasing the amount. So it's perfectly fine if it happens. We should just know how to control it. So, how do we control it? As I mentioned yesterday also, the distance or the movement between the second last key and the last key should be less, right? Right now, the movement is quite a lot if you look at the wireframe. So what I'll do, I will just reduce the movement which this controller covered. So I'm just going to move it up. And now you can see Very little jiggle is there. It's almost over. Okay. So main jiggle is in the beginning, and then towards the end, there's very like it's basically dying down. So you can see the tummy moving. Okay. So you should just know how to control it. It's completely fine if it happens. We should just know how to reduce the movement. I feel like this last movement should be even more lesser. So I'm reducing that as well. And now it's better. Okay. Is it visible to everyone? Can you see? It will only be visible if you turn on wireframe. Okay. So please make sure to do it with wireframe turned on. And definitely, if you want to increase the initial movement intensity, you can just adjust the keys. And proper dampening shape should be there. And if it seems weird at any point, then you can definitely go ahead and edit it just like how I showed. Okay. So now we have the tummy movement as well. Now let's go a step ahead and exaggerate this further. So I'll start with this controller. This is the controller that we have specifically for the upper area, the upper head controller. So we will be using this to control its movement. It will look really good, trust me. All right, so here I'm going to keep it neutral at first frame. Now when the character is on the ground, it lands at 10th, right? I want this movement to be delayed as well. So instead of adding that excessive movement at 10th, I'll add it at 12th, just like how we did for the tummy. So I'm going to move it high like this. So you can see it looks like the squirrel's mouth is open while it is coming down. Okay. And then it closes down like this. So basically I'm adding squash and stretch. You can consider this as a squash and stretch effect. So it is stretched out here, squashed here, then stretched again, then squashed again. That's it. So you can see the mouth opens and closes. Now you can increase the intensity. So it's open wide here. You can close it wide. Then you can open it back again, close it back again, then open it once again. So upward, downward, upward, downward, and upward. Look at this. So you can see the squirrel is opening and closing its mouth. So it again makes it look a bit more alive. So you can consider this as stretch, squash, and stretch again. Okay. I feel like at 20, I have done a little too much, so I'll slightly bring it down. So that's much better. Okay. And you can kill it a little bit more slowly. So like uh, down, up, down, and you can move it a little higher at 26. And then at 29, you can completely kill it. So still dampening is happening. See, again, I've got the same shape, right? If you continue adding this shape, like you will learn to do this, to add this in all animations. So it will always help you. So you will never stop anything abruptly. Okay. And again, at 26 and 29, you can see very little amount of movement is there. Okay, but if you want to add another keyframe after this, you can. So what is happening at 26? We are high. At 29, we are low. At 32, I can move it slightly high again. So you can see this is even less movement. At 26 to 29, this is big movement. At 29 to 32, it's even less. Okay. Okay. So another level of detail, and with this also you can add rotations. So you can go ahead and rotate it just like how we rotated this controller, right? Just like that, you can add rotation to it and then turn it in the opposite direction. So from left to right, from left again to right again, and so on. Just continue doing that till you kill the movement completely. And again, if we see the wireframe, sorry, I'm saying wireframe, I meant the curve. Okay, here I moved it the same amount as I did at 20. So I'm going to reduce it. So you can see again the same shape. Okay, so just slight rotation. Now, if you want to increase the amount of rotation, you definitely can. So from 12 to 16, it moves quite a lot and continues that movement. So it looks like the squirrel is eating something. Okay, so just adding another level of detail. Now let's do the ears. Now the way we'll do the ears, we will be moving them together so that it's easier to animate. So let's see how these work. Make sure that you select both of them together and you are in the object mode, not in the world. Make sure that you're in the object mode so that you can rotate them in the correct angles. So see, in rotate X, we get backward and forward. In rotate Z, we get in and out. And in rotate Y, we just get this type of rotation. Okay. So the ones we need to animate is in the x-axis and in the z-axis. Okay. It will look the character even better because right now the ear was not moving. So now we'll make it move. So at the highest point, I just want to keep it slightly forward and away from each other. So this is the kind of shape I'm doing because I like how it looks. This is just my preference. Okay. You can keep it neutral also. That's not a problem. Like neutral will be like this. But I want it to be slightly away because I just like it in that way. Okay. And I'm going to key it. So I've keyed it. Now the character hits the ground at 10th. Again, this is very light in weight, right? So we want it to be delayed. Now this is even lighter than the stomach. So the stomach movement we added at 12th frame. So for the ears, I will do it at 13th. Okay. So what I'll do here is I will move it forward. Okay. So moving it. Yes, the ears are kind of like a guinea pig. Yes, Shiv. Same techniques apply in character animation as well. The example is all the Disney animations. Okay. Now that you know all the principles and how they work, just watch any animated movie. You will never be able to see any scene without actually considering how the principle is getting applied. That's exactly what happens when you learn how principles work and you see the proper application on it of it and you actually apply it in your work. Then whenever you watch any movie, you see it clearly. Okay, and it is very helpful because then you can apply it again in your work. If you don't know about the principles and the applications of the principles, then it seems like rocket science to, make it happen with your character. But once you know how things work, it is so much easier. It's just that it's a lot of work, obviously, because you have to do so many things. But the results are uh, very, very satisfying. Okay. All right. So you can see what we did here before I go on to the ear rotation. What is happening? Like here, the ears are backward, right? And then here I move the body forward. The body is backward here, then it is forward at 14th. So same rotation will be applied to our ears as well. But as I said, there will be a delay. Initially, the body is backward, right? So what will happen to the ears? At 13th, I will keep them backward like this. So they are backward and then I will move forward and bring them forward. So you can see they're back, then they go forward. Okay, I'm following the same movement as body, but I'm delaying it so much. Backward, forward, then backward again, forward again, and backward once again. So you can see if I hit play, you can see the movement. Look at this. We have the jiggle in the ears as well. Now I'll add another level of detail to this. See, the ears are pulled backward, right? Because we're showing that it is the effect of the air drag. So when they're going backward, I want to keep them closer as well. So you can see I'm going to straighten them and rotate Z. When they come forward, I increase the distance between them again by rotating them away from each other. And then I'll continue moving it closer and further, okay, till the end. So you can see this is how it is. And I have ended the movement very suddenly. You can add, like you can continue doing it till you dampen it nicely. I will show that also, but the reason that I wanted to do it very quickly is I want to show that we will be adding a delay in this as well. So before we do that, let's slightly adjust the rotate Y. You can see, look at this. The ears look a little bit weird, but if you add rotate Y movement, it will be fine. So at frame number 13th, the ears are just a little bit straight. And when they go forward, I rotate them like this. So basically, I'm breaking uh, the movement. At the back, they're simply straight. When they're going forward, they're also coming closer to each other. And then when they go back again, they go slightly away, but you control it. When they come forward, you again straighten them. Make sure that you move it in rotate Y and not any random axis. Okay. So if I hit play, see how nice it looks. Okay. And it is suddenly stopping because I have actually suddenly stopped the full movement. I just want to show the break of symmetry. So what obviously, Sudhakar, we will use asymmetry here. The reason I animated them together because it's easy to do so. And we can break the symmetry very easily because I've done the animation together. I can just select one controller and I can shift the keyframes. That will add asymmetrical effect. So we'll have the same animation, but we will delay the timing. Okay, so symmetry will be broken. There will be a delay in movement and it will look more believable. So you can choose any ear that you want. Okay, select all the keys that you have and you shift it by one frame first and play and see the effect. So you can see, we can see the effect, but it still looks like it's a little bit symmetrical. So let's add a 2 frame difference. So what I'll do, I'll select all the keyframes again and I'll move it again by one more frame. So now you can see the symmetry is broken. We are having the same movement, but it is delayed. See, there is a delay. Okay. Is it visible to everyone? Can you see the delay? Right? So you can see it was very easy to do so. If you animate them together, it will be very easy to do it. Now, I will show this once again and we will do it properly now. Okay. So I'll delete this key. So this will make everything clear if there are any confusions at all. So let's do it again. So this time, let's keep the ears neutral at the first frame. I'm not going to change its movement or anything. Okay, keeping them neutral. You can see rotation is zeroed out. I just pressed S to lock everything. Now, as I said, I want to add delay here, right? So you can also do it at 12 if you don't want to do it at 13th. That also works. But let's just stick to 13th. So I will push it back like this. So you can see the ears are pushed back. When they're pushed back, I also want to move them closer together. So I'm going to move them closer like this. Okay. So you can see they're pushed backward and close together. Now I'll go forward 4 frames and I will move it forward and away from each other. And let's also control the y-axis here while we're at it so that we don't have to do it separately. So you can see at 13th it's back, at 17th it is forward and closer together. You can move it even more closer if you want. Okay. So, sorry, it should be away. I moved it in the wrong direction. It was close at 13th and away from each other at 17th. Okay. So you can see it looks like ear is flapping. All right. Backward, forward, closer, away. These are the things that we have done. So when it's backward, it is closer together. When it is forward, it is away from each other. Okay. Like this. Then I'll go forward again, 4 frames, and I will move it backward again. Now this time you move it lesser than what you did the first time. You can see at 13th I moved it so back, but this time I'm moving it less because we decrease the intensity of movement. So you can see it's going back again. Let's move it closer. So it's going close together. Okay. And I'm controlling the shape or the actual movement with rotate Y as well. So backward, forward, backward, and then I want to move it forward again. Now that we are reducing the amount of movement, we will also reduce the amount of timing it is taking. Initial movements that we added, I gave 4 frame of distance. Now, because we are reducing the speed, right? Because the movement is about to stop, right? So I'm also going to reduce the timing. So instead of giving 4 frames, I will do the next frame in 3 frames of gapping. Okay. So backward, forward, backward. Now it will go forward. Again, you can see the amount I moved forward is less compared to what I did at 17th. Okay, because we are here killing the movement. Now it is forward, so it should be away from each other. Okay, is it clear till here? Any confusions? Did you understand why I reduced the number of frames in between? Please tell me if there's any confusion in that. No confusion? Sudhakar, as I mentioned, I reduce the amount of frames in between because I want to shorten the timing as I am shortening the movement. Okay. If same amount of frames, like same amount of timing is preserved, then what will happen? I'm reducing the movement. It will look like the movement is slowing down, right? I don't want to decrease its timing or anything. Like, I mean, it shouldn't look slow. That's the main point. Okay. So that's why I am changing the number of frames in between. So basically, you can pretend that uh, since there are 4 frames, you can consider that this amount of rotation is being covered in 4 seconds. Okay. Same amount of rotation is being covered in 4 frames again. Now that we're reducing it, we are also reducing the time. Yes, Upanraj, we want to reduce the intensity, but because we're reducing the intensity, we also need to reduce the time it takes, right? If we don't do that, then what will happen? Let me show you so that everyone becomes clear about this. I'll just go forward a few frames to show this. See, I will move the ears back at 42, then I'll go at 46 and I'll move them forward. So you can see this amount of movement I covered in 4 frames, right? Okay, it is clear. Now, what I'll do is again in the same amount of frame, I will add a movement, but this time I'll add it less. So if I hit play, you can see it looks slower. Okay, I actually moved it quite a lot. Let's actually delete this and I'll show you a separate example. See, it is going like this. Clear? What I'll do is I'll copy this frame over here and I will do the same frame, but I will add less movement. So see, this is less, it looks slow, and this looks fast, right? 42 to 46 looks fast, 53 to 57 looks slow. So, Sudhakar, can you tell me why? Can you tell me why 42 to 46 looks faster, but 53 to 57 looks slower? Tell me why. Why does it look slower here, but not slower here? I'm asking you because you had confusion in this. So I need to know if you're understanding the logic. Exactly. Same amount of time both movements are taking, but it is moving more over here, whereas it is moving less over here. So this looks slower compared to this. Yes, Upanraj, you're right. It will look like it is moving in slow motion if we add less intensity and we don't change the timing. Okay? So, hope that is clear for everyone. Okay, so you can see since we reduce the intensity, I also reduce the amount it is like the time it is taking for the movement to happen. Okay, so backward, forward, backward, forward. I think I reduced it a little too much, so I will slightly move it forward again. So now it is better. Backward, forward, backward, forward. Okay, and when it is forward, what happens when it is forward? It goes away from each other. So that we have done. Now let's move again in 3 frames. Now we will move it back. So you can see this time I'm moving it lesser and I'll move it closer. And let's add another keyframe and move it forward. So see, the intensity has reduced so much. Backward, forward, backward, forward, backward, and forward again, and away from each other. So you can see we have this type of movement, and now we can add the delay easily by just taking one controller, and I'll just delay it by 1 frame each. So I'm just shifting it to the 12 frame. So now there is a delay. Okay. So now the squirrel looks very, very alive. And the animation is stopping at 29th frame. Let me add that frame here so we can see it properly. Okay, so now that we have rotated it and adjusted it from all the angles, you can put the camera anywhere and it will look good only. Okay, whatever camera angle you choose, it will look nice. Okay, any confusions, anyone? Is everything clear about this? Okay. Okay, guys. So yeah, uh, that's it for today. Tomorrow we will start with the tail animation. So that can be a little bit difficult. Okay. So we will start with the tail tomorrow. Okay. So we will be discussing follow through and overlapping actions. Till now we have seen follow through. We will also see what is overlapping. Okay. So yeah, let's keep it till here. I will stop the recording.